So for a little while now, a couple years or so, I have had a significant issue struggling with dedicating myself to something. I've been having commitment issues, right? And it's not like new. I have had, well, no. It sort of is new in a sense, as in like my early life, I would commit to things in such an unhealthy manner. But I could never put my finger on why and where this came from to be able to actually heal that. So I've sort of just been in like a weird limbo state with wanting and trying to commit to something, but then immediately like faltering out of it, and then having like so many other fucking backup plans that it literally becomes self-sabotage because I don't actually commit. I become incredibly impatient, and then I just fall out of something. And then I start doing whatever my backup plan is. And it's just become cyclical, and it's not helping me because I'm just starting a bunch of projects and never finishing them, essentially. And it's not wasted energy. I needed to do those for a reason, but it's energy that could be used in a much more efficient way. And I could never for my life figure out what this is. I've been sitting on this for months because I've been like, I don't know what the fuck the problem is here. Well, I found out where it stemmed from, and it really processed like 4 minutes ago. And all because I had a dream last night. And in this dream, I was at the beach, and there was a beach volleyball tournament happening. And I was sitting there, and I heard one of the players named Summer, like they got injured or something, and people yelled for them. And so I turn and I look, and, you know, it wasn't me, whatever. And then I'm talking to this guy, and he's like some older fellow, and he's like, I committed 32 years of my life to whatever sport he was playing. I think it might have been soccer or something. And he was pretty much telling me, he literally told me something I know my coaches told me before about staying down in like athletic stance. And he was like, I would stand up thinking I could move faster and thinking I could run faster, but I couldn't actually see. But then when I got down into position, I could see everything clearly. And still figuring out how to apply that, but that's not where the revelation came in, right? I just remember I was sitting there on the beach. This guy had left at this, no, he had not left at this point. I was talking to him, and I just remember watching these people play volleyball, and I said, and it's so earnest, like, I literally remember, I have a dream journal, and I remembered it earlier, and I wanted to write about this, and then I had to go back to see what I said exactly, and I said, I've never felt more alive than when I'm on the court. And that's, I'm gonna cry again. That's so true. Volleyball was something I genuinely wanted to dedicate my life to. I picked it up in 7th grade because I wanted to play one more sport with my sister before she graduated for like one more year. And in the process, I fell in love with learning about something new and being a beginner and growing, because I was shit. I was new, right? I was in 7th grade, and you know, I got shit for being the youngest. I got shit for being the new kid. Like, people shit on me because I I brought ankle weights and nobody else brought ankle weights because we were supposed to bring them, but everybody else who knew, who was older and already been there, like, didn't want to do that and shit. But I did that because I was like, I'm showing up for this. This is something I know that I want to do. And, you know, for a little while, I was so hard on myself, and I was like, I'm not shit. I'm not gonna be shit. But then, like, I grew. I felt so stagnant. There was probably about 3 seasons where I felt so stagnant. It was so incredibly horrible. I don't think I wanted to quit, but I was being so hard on myself because I didn't see any growth. But, oh my gosh, my coaches, they were awesome. They were literally the best people ever. And they always had my back. They were always so incredibly encouraging, like, genuinely. They were like, you do not see the potential in yourself that we see in you. And that lit a fire under me. Around comes 2019. I'm in 8th grade going into my freshman year of high school. And our high school had a weightlifting and conditioning program that the basketball teams and the softball teams and the football teams would do. Like, that was sort of mandatory for them. But as someone who had been in basketball and in softball, at this point I quit basketball because I played it for most of my life leading up to this point, and I plateaued, and I didn't like it, and it was just didn't feel like the right scene for me, and it wasn't something that I wanted to commit to like volleyball was, because I knew that I had so much room for growth, and I was actively growing and actively seeing the progress. It was something that fueled me, so I was like, this is where I want to put my energy. So with that, I was like, hold on, this is a class that anybody can take if we really want to? Hold on, let me get in this. And I was on the softball team, but I was like, no, I'm not doing this for softball. You're like, basketball? And I was like, sure. So inadvertently, after I was taking that class, the basketball girls convinced me to join the team again. I played my freshman year once, and then I stopped fucking playing basketball again. And I was a manager for a year, for a minute there, but other than that, that was it for my basketball career. But I got in there because I wanted to get stronger for volleyball. I wanted to get in better shape. I wanted to have better endurance. I wanted to be able to hold my position longer. I wanted to be quicker. It was literally my drive for life. Like, college was not a foreseeable option unless I got in college via scholarship. And even though I was incredibly, I was pretty smart, I held A's and B's, I had maybe 5 C's before COVID hit, or no, not even before COVID hit, but I had 1 C before COVID hit. But still, I doubted myself academically. So I was like, volleyball will be my only way I will be able to get into college. I have to be good enough at volleyball to be able to get a scholarship. I have to be good enough to be able to get a full ride or something like that. But volleyball was my future, and I wanted to continue to do that as long as humanly possible. And I was practicing so hard all the time. Off season, during the summer, I had videos saved in my phone. I had a plywood board set up in my backyard that I could practice on too. And it was like borderline unhealthy because I started to actually fuck my muscles up and shit. But it was because I wanted it so bad. I forgot that I wanted it more than I've ever wanted anything. And for a while, I didn't think that I've ever experienced that until my dream last night. And I was like, holy shit. It was volleyball, and it's always been volleyball. And I'm just thinking about that because it really did change my life. And then COVID hit, and, you know, I'm pretty sure we didn't have a season that year. And then the following year, it sucked. We only played like half the games we could, and everything sucked. And like at that point, I had become majorly depressed and got mad, out of shape. And so I felt like for years, like my coach was maybe around for like 2 more years at that point. Her and her husband were our coaches, and they got us through COVID. And I was still trying to fight my way back at that point, but I knew that I wasn't in the place that I wanted to be, that I would have been if COVID didn't happen. And it hurt. You know, I took a hit. It dealt some damage, but I didn't feel, I wanted to be the best, but I had to be the best before the end of high school so I could get the degree and get the scholarship and go to college. But it was my sophomore year that I finally actually got to play volleyball again, and I was like, fuck, I'm not where I need to be to do this right now. And then my coach ended up resigning, and that tanked me because she was like my number one supporter. She was my rock. And I just didn't want to do it anymore. I literally wanted to quit. I felt like I had nothing in it. I was like, my potential shot, I can't go anywhere. I can't do anything with this. But if I continued to do nothing, I was only gonna get worse. So I think my mom literally made me do it. And even though the setting, and yeah, even though like the company I kept and the people around me, I had some supporters, but you know, the atmosphere wasn't the greatest. But I just felt glad to be back there because I was like, okay, I'm not where I want to be, but I can still progress. I may have taken steps backwards, but I could still take steps forwards. But I knew I wasn't where I wanted to be. And at the time, I also was going through really bad mental health shit, and I just felt like the shell of a person because I was essentially performing because I knew things weren't going to turn out the way that I wanted them to or the way that I planned. And I genuinely was like, on the inside, I had given up. And I didn't want to do that because I still wanted to grow and to be the person that I knew I could be and that everybody else like knew I could be and wanted me to be, but that just wasn't who I was, and I tore myself up over it. And it was just overall a rough time in my life, and that didn't help because I wasn't doing it for the love of the game. I wasn't doing it because it made me happy. It was an act. I wasn't doing it for me. I was doing it for everybody else. And I got out my volleyball today because I asked my mom if I could borrow her laptop to edit a YouTube video. And we couldn't find the charger. We dug through a closet and shit to find it, but we couldn't find it, but I found my volleyball. And I have it now. And that may be what I pursue. I'm not sure yet, but I know that I can bring back that desire to be the best, to want something more than I want to breathe. Because at first, literally for like the last few months, I was like, I don't know if I can feel that way. I don't know if I've ever felt that way before. But I realized, holy fucking shit. Yeah, I did, and I wanted that. And the reason I forgot is because I felt like I had it ripped away. But that was a part of my lore. That was a part. That was a character development moment, and I think I've learned from it. And it's time to use that and bounce back, and know that whatever the fuck I decide to like set my attention on and actually focus and put the fucking drive into, whatever the fuck lights up my heart, I know that I can do that and I can accomplish it. Because I know I can want something more than I've ever wanted anything in my entire life. Yeah.